All right, hey, this is how to reach young families by texting. Using texting to reach young families. That's what you found, and that's what we're going to talk about. Let's take it away. Let's make it happen. 1, 2, 3, hit it. All right. Hey, this is Mike Holmes here at the Reachkeep podcast called the Better Sundays podcast. So greetings. Good to have you here on a happy 4th of July is when this is being recorded, the year of our Lord 2021. And I hope you had a great Lord's Day, and I hope you get to see some fireworks go off maybe tonight when it gets dark, wherever you happen to be. So it is a blessing to be able to also put this onto our YouTube channel, and we recorded a couple of these recently, and they were big hits, so we decided to do it again, and Lord willing, everything will work right. We've had a little tech issues out here in the country where we're at. Internet access is pretty tricky, but anyway, we're blessed to be here, and good to have you here online as well as at the Better Sunday podcast, whether you're getting this on Apple or Spotify or Stitcher. A lot of people watch it there. Google Podcasts, you can catch it there. Wherever you are getting it, we are coming to you from the Reachkeep headquarters. This is kind of our mobile headquarters here right now. We kind of got the little plywood box we're working out of. We have our regular studio on site at the church. And we are, by the way, we're a ministry of Sinclair Baptist Church. And you might notice I've got my Baptist Youth Mission shirt on here. I've been the director of Baptist Youth Mission since 1988, and we've been in the business of helping churches reach the young families of their community. That's basically what we've done through VBS and, of course, summer camps, to do a lot of involvement with that over the years, but also just training the churches how to reach people in their community. So that's what we're all about. So very excited to be a part of that, and Baptist Youth Mission is under the Sinclair Baptist Church, for those of you that are interested on how all of that works. So today's podcast, I should have announced this earlier, but you're probably wondering, we're talking about using texting to reach young families. Let me just say that again. We're talking about using texting to reach young families, and we sometimes have to do young family things, and believe me, texting is a young family thing. I don't know how they could live without it, but it is. I live quite well without it for a long time. We actually wrote letters back and forth to one another back in the day, but it is a powerful tool. We're going to give you some 3 different techniques that you can use, and then stick around to the end, because I'm going to give you kind of the powerhouse little wham that makes it all work really the best. There's just kind of one little secret that kind of helps, but I'll give you the kind of when to text and how to text and some of those things. So very excited to be able to serve you in this manner. I've mentioned before, and I'll put a bumper at the end here. We'll talk about it. We do have our Reachkeep conference coming up at the end of the summer. It's going to be the last 2 days of summer, which means the Thursday and Friday before Labor Day. It's kind of how we're looking at that as the summer, which I believe that comes out to September 2nd and 3rd, and is going to be a conference sponsored by the Reachkeep Academy, with focusing on helping you to get people back into church. So back to church Sunday kind of a thing we're talking about. We'll give you much more detail on that. So let's jump into this topic of using texting to reach young families. First of all, one of the things that you need to do is start to use that medium, okay? And here are the places I want you to use it. Number 1, I want you to text every single guest. I want you to text them after church on Sunday. Now, you don't have to do it directly, like 10 minutes after church, but sometime in the afternoon, before, if you have an evening service, hopefully before Monday. We kind of had a 24-hour period we put on it. I like to get it done in 4 or 5 hours. I think that's the best thing. So somebody comes to your church and they visit for the very first time. Before that day is over and they pillow their head, as they say, they are going to get a text from you. And I'll tell you what to put in it here in just a minute. But they're going to get one from you, and also tell you how to get their phone number in just a minute too. So if you hang on to the end, we'll get to some of that. But you are going to text them that afternoon right away. This is one thing about texting. Texting is very responsive, and young families, they text all the time. In fact, they text each other across the room and all that. And if we want to reach young families and if we want to retain young families. And we have a problem today is we can bring church people in or bring people into our church, but sometimes we can't keep them. And a guy sent me a message this week. He says, I've been able to get them, but we're the only young family in the church. The pastor was speaking, and he said, we need to figure out how to retain them. Well, this is one of those techniques. You're going to take time to text every guest that you're going to do that's coming to church. And in that text, you are going to fulfill a promise that you made in the message. So here's what you do. During your message, you say, you know, there's been a great message. I've been teaching on Noah's Ark, for example, okay? And I have some a great thing I want to send you that is done by some Christian research people that talks about like where Noah's Ark possibly is, okay? And I'm just giving you an example here, so you can put anything in there. You can put a list of verses, the best verses on, you know, Noah's Ark, or the best, you know, all the New Testament verses on Noah's Ark that you didn't even know, because some people think it's just an Old Testament story, but it was validated, you know, 2,000 years later by Jesus. So I'm going to give you the list of the 10 verses in the New Testament that reference Noah's Ark, and I want you to have those. I don't have time to get them to you on paper today. Didn't have time to print them up, but I want you on your connection card, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I want you to put your phone number down, and I will text these to you by 3 o'clock this afternoon. You will have a video, a link on, you know, whatever. You're going to have this list of verses. So, in other words, you're fulfilling a promise. You make a promise during your message. Now, during our Reachkeep conference, we're going to talk about how to create sermon series that are comprehensive, that cover everything. They're not just like a message that starts here and 45 minutes ends there, but it goes into the week and goes into Bible studies and goes into these texting things that we do. So you are linking with people, you're communicating a message with them that goes way beyond, you know, the noon or whenever you stop your message. It's something that takes them further. I'm going to teach you how to do that in our conference, and I'm very excited about that. So every guest, here's the thing, you got to write this down. Number one, every guest gets a text. Every guest. And this would also be like guests that are back for the second time, or they haven't been there for a while, or whatever. So you wouldn't necessarily do this to your regular folks that are there all the time, your Sunday school teachers or deacons or whoever you have, leadership people. But you would text these people that are new and special, have been back, kids back from college, that type of stuff. Hey, give me you put your text number, your phone number down. I'm going to text you a video on, you know, how people think they found where Noah's Ark possibly would be, and it's very well done. And I didn't want to show it here in church, but we obviously don't have time for that, so I'm going to send you the thing. And when they get that text, you are now not just a preacher, but you are a promise fulfiller. Okay, this is a powerful thing. It's taking your job definition as a, you know, the pastor and preacher and some of that. You now added some of this building trust because you said you're going to send them something and you sent them something. You're a promise fulfiller. A very good thing. So, number one, every guest. The second one is every text has a link. And I referenced this already, but don't just text something that says, hey, thanks for coming to our church today. Really enjoyed having you. Bye. Okay? You don't want to do that. Okay? Now, you can have all that. Thanks for coming to church, and we appreciate you being here. But don't say bye. You say, by the way, I have a link for you that is, I talked about in the sermon, and I'd like for you to have this here. Or if you didn't promise something in the sermon, you can send them also a link. It says, by the way, I have a link. It talks a little bit about how our children's ministry can help bring peace in your home. Okay, not just like our children's ministry starts, our Sunday school starts at 9:30. One of the problems pastors have today is because we're so adverse to advertising and adverse to media and all that, when we do jump in and actually do it, we only talk about features, we never talk about benefits. We just say, Sunday school's at 9:30, make sure you're there, okay? And we don't talk about the benefits. So what you would do is text a link that says, here is a little video we put that shows how our children's ministry can help bring peace in your family. That is totally different than the 9:30, because when they're done watching that, they're going to go, when is that thing? And of course, it's going to say somewhere there at 9:30. Features this amount. Benefits this amount. Do lots of features or lots of benefits compared to the amount of features. Many times we just say, oh, church is at 9 through 11, be there, forsake not the assembly, okay, but whatever you say. But you want to give them a link that talks about it. Now, you can give a link to your own website where you have talked about your children's ministry. And by the way, you ought to have something on there that says, hey, this is Pastor so-and-so from our church, and we want to invite your kids to come to our church. Lots of times I invite adults, but I want to invite the kids to come. And we're going to be teaching character. We're going to teach them responsibility. We're going to teach punctuality. We're going to teach a lot of these great Bible characteristics out of a book in the Bible that is talked all about the family, and it's called the Book of Proverbs. And I want your children to come. In fact, by the time your kids have been in our Sunday school for several years, you're going to notice, several even weeks, you're going to notice a change. You're going to notice something different, and it's going to bring some peace in your family. So make sure that you join us here at such and such a church and such a time. See what I'm saying? You give the benefits and some of that, but you have a link to that, so you make a link. You also can have, on texting, you can text a link of something else that's very cool. As I mentioned earlier, creation videos. You can go to, I think it's ICR.com or whatever, Institute of Creation Research, and then Ken Ham has the Answers in Genesis. A lot of very good videos. You can find all sorts of really powerful things that are short format videos, and you send a link and say, hey, this is something I found that's really, really good. When you also send a link, you can send a link to a website that is specifically teaching about something that is hard for us to take a lot of time to deal with, but is very important. One that just really ding rang at our church was when I did a series on parenting, but we spent a whole Sunday on step parenting. And believe me, there are a lot of people out there in step parenting, and they're wanting to know how to do that blending of the families and yours, mine, and ours. And they've been through some problems, and they need some help. And there are many good resources on websites that deal with step parenting. You go find those, and you say, I'm going to send you a link that has 3 great tips for how to be a stepdad. Well, it's like, write that down. Where do I put my phone number? You see what I'm saying? We're creating this interest and this hunger in the sermon that helps them give us the phone number in the connection card. We'll talk about that in a second. And they write that down, and then you are a promise fulfiller because you sent them some good stuff. So not only are you a promise fulfiller, but you are a content deliverer. In other words, you deliver the goods. And that is such a powerful, powerful thing. So number one, every guest gets a text after church. Every text has a link in it. Okay? The next thing you can do, and this is the third one, and then I'll give you kind of this little powerhouse thing at the end, okay, is every Saturday, this is a texting thing, every Saturday you text every person and invite them to church. Now, I even text some of my regulars. I mean, we got deacons. It's like, hey, see you at church tomorrow? That type of thing. And they're like, I think I'll make it, and they're like the song leader, that kind of a thing. So every Saturday, you send out text reminders. Now, you can also do this on like Facebook Messenger if you want, if that works better for you. If you're in an area where there's a lot of tweeting and direct messages through that or Instagram, you can use other features. So I'm just giving you, though, the simple one. No matter what it is, you use a feature that works for you, and there'll be some people that they're Instagrammers and they're Snapchatters and they're this and that, and you'll have to figure out how far you want to go on that. Almost everybody, though, gets text messages on their smartphone. And if you need to know more about smartphone, go back and listen to the last podcast we just did, or watch the last YouTube video about how smart pastors are using smartphones. So every Saturday, send them a reminder and just kind of touch base. So this is, sort of what's going on. And we do this all the time. And people are not annoyed with it. New people are not annoyed with it. If it were, a lot of us, we kind of put ourselves into the place of someone else who go, oh, I don't think they'd like that. You would not believe the number of people that say, thank you so much for reminding me. Man, I forgot. It was Monday already. And, oh, I won't be there. I've got to, go out of town or whatever. They'll tell you. And then you've communicated with them. So every guest gets a text. Every text gets a link. Every Saturday, you are out there with your little thumbs going, and you're sending texts. And I start, in the middle of the afternoon and send them. I do send some on Friday as well if I'm busy, and get some of those out. So remember that. You've got to do that. Now, here's the powerhouse thing at the end, and we'll kind of wrap this up with a couple resources for you here. Okay. Every time that you send a text to a person, and not like when you're in a conversation, but a first-time text or when you're partway in the text message, here's a secret that you've got to do. Every text message with somebody, especially these newer people, you ask a question. You ask, how's your grandmother doing? How did you ever get your flat tire fixed? Did you ever get that promotion at work? Did you are you new in town here? I heard you're from Iowa. Whereabouts in Iowa did you live? You just ask some kind of question that starts a dialogue. The reason you want to start a dialogue, okay, is because it is impossible, in my opinion, to disciple people without dialogue. You cannot disciple people by simply preaching at them. You have to have back and forth, back and forth. You have to have dialogue, and texting is how a lot of people dialogue. It's a great way to start it. Now, later on, you'll catch a cup of coffee with them, or later on, you'll start a formal process of dialogue, or sit there after church and go through and talk about, verses that they have questions on, or counseling, or whatever. But always ask a question when you're in a conversation, especially with new people, and actually with your regular folks too. Hey, how's your ankle doing, or whatever it happens to be. But ask some type of question, because you have to dialogue with people. Now, a couple of things I mentioned is connection cards. How do you do connection cards? And we are going to be teaching specifically on this as well at the Academy, the conference that we're doing with the Academy. But we have a resource for you right now that you can go to, and it's Reachkeep. Go to reachkeep.com/ and the word connection. Okay, so just type in reachkeep.com and the / I think it's called, and then type in the word connection, and you will get an opportunity to download our free connection card guide, and it will help you learn how to do some of this. We also have some other videos on this on the Reachkeep site. There is if you go to our reachkeep.com site, there's a podcast there called Connection Card that works, and you just type in and search for that. So you need to have that. The other thing that you need to have, and this is kind of a stretch here, and if you're a new church planner or whatever, you need to have this. You need to have some type of way of keeping track of all those phone numbers. Okay, so because you will not be able to keep them all on your phone, and you'll forget. Someone will show up 6 weeks later, 6 months later, and you need to ask somebody. And for me, I have a secretary kind of types all those things into a little database. We'll talk about databases sometime. But you can do it as just simple as using an address book or something, Contact Manager and Outlook or whatever you have on your computer. But you've got to have a way to keep track of those. And in the description, sometimes it says, tall guy with cowboy hat, wife wore red blouse. It's kind of funny because we tend to remember people that way. But my secretary writes a lot of that stuff down, and I'll say, "Who was that tall guy?" The red blouse. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Here's their number, and I want to shoot them a reminder to come to church again. So you can keep track of them on your phone, however it works, but have some type of database and learn to use connection cards. This fall, when you start to bring people back to church, we want you to start using connection cards. You will never go back. Okay, and if you learn how to do them the right way, they're the most awesome resource that you can imagine. We'll teach you all about it in our upcoming conference. So we'll have a way for you to sign up on all that a little bit later. In fact, let me just give you the promo on that. Again, it's September 2nd and 3rd is when it's going to be, and it will be you got to pay for it because we got a lot of hosting and software stuff for that. We'll get all that information to you later, but it is virtual. It is not here in Sinclair. We want to do it. It's just America's not quite ready to travel. We're not quite ready at that level either. So it's going to be a virtual conference on how to get people back to church, and we're very excited about that. So anyway, Mike here at reachkeep.com. The Better Sundays podcast is what you're listening to right now. Make sure that you share or hit the like button or go to the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go in comments and write some comments there. We appreciate that. Let me know where you're at and how things are going in your church, and we're here to help you. Anyway, we love you. We're here to help you create flourishing churches. That's what this ministry is all about, and I'm very excited that we can be serving the Lord with gladness and enter into His gates with thanksgiving. So God bless, and we will catch you next time.